Well, that'd be a problem. Oh, there it goes. Welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. We'll be getting into parts 5 and 6 of, the fifth case, the adventure of, the Unspeakable story. Streaming today and tomorrow, because, honestly, I want to get through this game so I can stream other games, but because I really would hate to leave something halfway, like a case, undone halfway through it. So, we'll be getting into this. When I awoke the following morning, Susato-san was already gone. Outside the window, the rain came down in sheets, and so began an even longer day than the last, one that I would remember for the rest of my days. 17th April, 9:32 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Good morning, Gina. I'm determined to prove your innocence today. I'm sure we can do it. So, where's your friend then? Sorry? You know, wearing the fancy dress. Sarto, or however you say it. I don't know. Ah, Miss Sato had to leave early this morning. She was already gone by the time I woke up. You alright with that, eh? Are ya? Forget about me if you like. Go and see her off. It's fine. It is not as though Miss Sato and I won't meet again one day. Even so. But you, Gina, you only get one chance. This trial today is all we have. Good morning, you two. Iris brought Wagahe with her. How are you feeling, Guinea? Did you manage to sleep? Yeah. Iris, what are you doing here? What do you mean? When a friend is in need, we show our support. Isn't that right, Waggy? It's a cute cat. Ah, Waggy. Great way to show your support, kitty. Let him have a nose around. What harm can it do? Oh, that reminds me. I brought a paper on the way here. Now, would you like the good news or the bad news? What do you say, Bruno, Guinea? Oh well, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first. Nah, always take the good news first. You might not live to hear the bad. Yes, that question always gives away people's personalities. Let us not go there. Alright then, I'll give you the bad news first. A record amount of rain has fallen this morning, and carriages all over the capital are struggling to move. Uh-huh. The bad news was a weather report? So I hope that Susie made her train to Dover and that the train isn't delayed on its way to the port. Gosh, yeah. Alright then, so what's the good news? Well, the rain is forecast to subside this afternoon. So even if the train is delayed, it should be able to make up the time later. Well, that is good news, isn't it? I couldn't give a monkey's, really. If only all the good news canceled out the bad. This probably will be a longer stream than previous stream yesterday. Just because, yeah, like I said earlier, I'd like to get through this game. Well, this half of the game fast so I can at least try to expand my content. And look, this trial has made the headlines too. Pawnbroker perishes in pig purse plunder. See? Tisk. How'd you like that? Well, let them say what they want. See if I care. I can't because you're covering your face. Don't worry, Bruno will show everyone that this headline is nonsense. I will? And then, in tomorrow's papers, the headlines will be... Discharged Diver's Dauntless Do-Gooder. Isn't that right, Bruno? Oh, yes. Let us hope so. Of course they will. I have absolute faith in you. How was that? I was trying to sound like Susie. Did it work? Did it? It's like she was still here. Today's paper has been entered in the court record. Okay. Good luck then, Runo. I'll do what I can. Obviously, I don't know the law like Susie does, but still. I've got a massive bazooka. I'll be by your side the whole time, giving you moral support and encouragement. I'm not sure that big thing is as comforting as you think it is, to be honest, but... Thank you, Iris. That is very kind of you. Oh yeah, Iris. Yes, Guinea? Well, I was wondering is all about Sholmes. Did they fix them up alright? Yes, the operation was a great success. But Hurley still hasn't come around yet. But that's not true. He was talking to Sasato last time we saw him. Eh? I've asked a friend of mine at Scotland Yard to send a telegram as soon as he wakes up. I'm sure Gregson will let us know the moment there's news. Oh, right. No Sasato-san and no Mr. Sholmes. It's all down to me today to prove that Gina is innocent of this crime. Miss Gina Lestrade, counsel for the defense. The trial is about to begin. Please make your way into the courtroom. It is time then. Yes, let us go, Gina, Iris. Lead the way, Runo. It's just like taking Pearl into court in one of the original games trilogy. I can't remember. Poor Gina. She's trying to put on a brave face, but I can tell she's worried and scared. I have to believe in her from start to finish. That is the weapon that will secure our victory here. If I learned anything from my great friend, it is that it's very easy to trip over a cat and die. 17th April, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey's courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. The trial shall determine the guilt or innocence of Miss Gina Lestrade. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready. Lord Van Zieks. My lord? Remind me, how many years ago was it that you withdrew from the public prosecution service? It was some 5 years ago, my lord. Yes, and then 2 months ago you resurfaced somewhat unexpectedly, and here you are again today. Are there some circumstances of which the court should be aware that have led to this erratic behavior? In what one might describe as your former life 5 years past. You dealt exclusively in matters concerned with the highest echelons of society and government. Really? Yet today, you choose to try a simple case of burglary and murder. I confess I find it more than a little befuddling, counsel. There are two types of person I cannot abide. Firstly, those wealthy scoundrels who hide behind a mask of philanthropy to cheat the public at large. I've got a friend who thinks the exact same way as Von Zieks there. He means Mr. McGilded, who you defended against the Reaper 2 months ago. Yes, I just about managed to work that out, thank you. Magnus McGilded, if I'd known what a monster he was, I never would have defended him. And secondly, even more loathsome, those wily scoundrels who masquerade as allies only to effect total betrayal in the final hour. In other words, the confidence tricksters from those tiny islands in the Far East, the Nipponese. Oh great, is he racist now? What? Did he really just say that? He means you now, Bruno. I actually managed to work that out too. Thank you, Iris. No need for a great detective. Total betrayal? What are you talking about? That torrid look of hatred in Lord Von Zeke's eyes. Was that directed solely at me, or was he talking about all Japanese people? An alarmingly scathing explanation, Lord Von Zeke's. Still, the judiciary welcomes the return of the so-called Reaper of the Bailey, feared by all London malefactors. Your lordship is too kind. Now, jurors, the 6 of you have been selected at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Wait a minute. I recognize at least 5? I think I recognize at least 5 people here. Guy on far left was in the last case. The 4th guy definitely looks like the old man at least. 5th one was a juror in the 3rd case. The 2nd one I think was a juror in the 3rd case, and the 5th one looks familiar. Looks like the guy from the 2nd case in the newspaper. Are you ready to hear the evidence placed before you and determine the guilt or innocence of the defendant? Former lieutenant in the British Army here. Don't you know, chaps like me were born ready. Clean crockery, clean cutlery, and a clean conscience. His lordship's motto is very appropriate here, I think. Everything will be stereoscopic in the future. Absolutely, absolutely everything, and I'm ready for it. I don't understand it. I can't have left it in there. It's not possible. But could I have? Woman indispensable in society. Stop. Female-centric future awaits. Stop. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to Crystal Tower, please. He clearly doesn't speak English. Is something wrong, Bruno? Oh, not exactly. It's just... I'm fairly sure I recognize these jurors. Almost all of them, in fact. Really? Funny coincidences like that do happen from time to time, don't they? But it is quite strange. The jurors are chosen at random from London's 6 million inhabitants, you know. So, I've been led to believe. But something tells me I'm being duped. Very well. Now, Lord Von Zeeks. The court calls upon the prosecution to introduce the facts of the case. As you wish, my lord. Allow me to begin with a word of warning to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. In short, there has never been a more self-evident case of cold-blooded murder. Sparked at least 2 people. The victim, Mr. Pop Windybank, proprietor of a pawn shop on Baker Street, was shot from behind and died instantly. The prosecution presents this photographic print of the crime scene. As the court will observe, there's a single bullet wound just below the gentleman's left shoulder. The evidence suggests that the bullet pierced the man's heart and resulting in a near-instant death. Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. And what's that supposed to tell us? It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Someone like the accused, you might say. Oh! The prosecution wishes to present the autopsy report and crime scene photograph as evidence, my lord. Indeed. The court accepts. Hand them to the bailiff, please. Okay. Let's go over the autopsy report real quick. I now ask the court to turn its attention to this plan of the establishment where the incident occurred. Just read over the autopsy report, make sure I'm not missing any details. Bullet, upper half, instant death, gently rest. Okay. Okay, let's see. The proprietor was found in the storeroom where he kept articles pawned to him, and a windowless room with a single point of entry, a door to the main shop that was found locked. In the sealed chamber, there were only 2 persons present. The victim, Mr. Windybank, and the accused. Another locked room mystery-like case, too. It may further interest the court to know that when the accused was discovered at the scene, she had in her hand the gun used to fire the fatal bullet. Well, that is that then, isn't it? Nothing more to say. Isn't that grubby little girl a pickpocket anyway? She's one of those filthy drabs that live in the slums in the Far East. Oh well, it was only a matter of time before she got blood on her hands then. What are the jurors waiting for? The girl's guilty as hell. We can't jump to conclusions here. We mustn't assume her guilt because of what she has to do to survive. My Lord Nippany's friend. It is you who mustn't jump into conclusions. The prosecution has barely begun presenting its case. Conveniently, this appalling act of murder did not go unobserved. There were 2 witnesses. Good gracious! After their testimony, this girl's true nature will be exposed. Pitiful pick-purse or cold-hearted killer. Here's to establishing the truth. The court will take the floor plan and the firearm into evidence. Hand them to the bailiff, please, Lord Van Zeeks. At once, my lord. Okay. Crime scene, floor plan, and the murder weapon. This isn't good. I feel like the mood in here has turned very gloomy all of a sudden, Runo. I think that is because it has. Let us begin. Bring forth the witnesses to the foul murder of Mr. Pop Windybank on 16th April of this year. Those 2 are clearly bandits. Witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. Name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is baddie, professional baddie. Name's Ringo Skulkin. Occupation's same as him. Tobias Gregson, Scotland Yard Inspector. That's right. We're what they call the 3 Scolvin brothers. What are you looking at me like that for? Don't lump me in with you lot. Cor blimey, that's cold. Don't you know what we're going through? It's our older bruv. Lost contact with him we have. See, so we're scouring every shitty corner of the capital. And then last night we came across you, the very spite of the bloke. Ain't that right, Ringo? Aye, it is Nash. He is. The very spit of him. So we decided that there and that and what we was gonna do. We was gonna call you Big Bruv Sulky. Come on, leave it out, you 2. Sulky Skulkin? And that's before he's run out of chips. Well then, Inspector Sulky Griggs. Begging your pardon, my lord, but the name's Tobias. What I would like to know, Inspector, is what you are doing in the witness stand. The Skulkin brothers are currently under arrest, my lord, on suspicion of theft. Thieves are they? These 3. No, my lord, begging your pardon, but please don't lump me in with this lot. 2 nights ago, these 2 brothers illegally entered an establishment with intent to burgle. And in the course of their nefarious activities, they became embroiled in a far more sinister crime. By Jove, you mean to say, what an extraordinary coincidence. Indeed, my lord, while attempting to burglarize the pawnbrokery, they witnessed its proprietor's murder. Damn, he is short. Order! Order! The various trespasses of these brothers is not the subject of today's proceedings, though they will naturally face trial in the very near future. With your lordship's permission, I'd like to remain in the stand to keep these gents on the straight and narrow. Of course, Inspector. Skeptical as I am about the caliber of these witnesses, I will permit them to take the stand. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you will now testify before the court. Describe the events of the night in question and what exactly you saw. Happy to. 'Cause it's Skulkin's never skulkin'. What? He looks like a mime at this angle. Get out of it. Illegal entry. We was walking down Baker Street in the small hours, and the gaff's door was ajar, you see. It was like some kind of sign, begging for us to go in, it was. But once we got inside, core blimey lummy, we heard a gunshot from the back room. We went to see what was what, but the door was locked from the inside. We never done nothing, governor. We never took nothing. We just left her that, nice and quiet. My goodness. A terrible coincidence it would seem. At the precise moment these miscreants entered the property, an even more sinister crime was afoot. The witness's testimony is consistent with the crime scene in every detail. The door providing access to the storeroom from the main shop was indeed locked from the inside, and within, only the victim and the accused were found. Sorry. I must say, it does appear to be an overwhelmingly simple case. Still, the defense may cross-examine the witnesses now, of course. Counsel, if you please. Counsel? Yes. What is the matter, Bruno? Sorry, I was just stunned into silence for a minute by the blatant lies being told by that pair in the stand. I know that it's all nonsense, because I saw it with my own eyes. I'll just have to expose their testimony for the pack of lies it is. Illegal entry. Okay, let's press this. Hold it! The front door of Windy Banks was ajar, you say? What time of night was this? Must have been about 1, right, Ringo? Yeah, I'd say so. Right, Sulky? How would I know? The place would have been shut at 1 in the morning, just like every other shop in town. Well, it was pitch black inside, it's true. Ain't that right, Ringo? I'm not so sure, Nash. I seem to remember a little light burning inside. What about you, Sulky? Me old mucker. Leave me alone. There definitely was a small lamp burning inside. That's what alerted us to the situation in the first place. And when these gentlemen ventured into the open establishment, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, already had the muzzle of her gun trained on the unfortunate victim. That is pure conjecture. Ha, perhaps, but it changes nothing. These brothers inadvertently wandered into the middle of a cold-blooded murder, simply because they found the door of the victim's establishment open and ventured inside. Right, that's what happened. Hold it! What are you trying to suggest? That you had to go in? Well, God moves in mysterious ways, they say. Don't they, Ringo? They do, Nash, they do. Must have been some sort of providence, I reckon. God's will often presents itself as the whim of thieves, does it? It weren't no whim. I'm dead sure of that. It weren't, Nash. It weren't. Like we said at the time. You don't just find doors open in the middle of the night like that. Nah, there's no two ways about it. It was a sign that our long-lost brother was inside. They're not very good liars, are they? Well, you can't deny it. It led us to a bloke what looks just like her bruv. I said, cut it out. Those chips are getting a chomping today. Okay. A gunshot, you say? Just the one. Are you sure about that? Yep, just the one, Governor. I can swear to that. It was, Nash. It was. Ain't that right, bruv? The firearm used belonged to the victim himself. Yes, Mr. Windbank always used to leave his gun lying around on the counter. Right, I remember. When we examined it, we found the revolver was completely out of rounds. That makes sense. Mr. Windbank always used to say he only ever kept a single bullet loaded. That is true. I remember him saying that as well. So, we can say with considerable certainty that only a single round was discharged from the firearm used as the murder weapon. Yes, my lord, we can. And I should remind the court that the firearm in question was discovered in the hand of the accused. Wonderful. We went to see what was what. Okay. Let's go. Do you mean the door between the main shop and the storeroom? If my learned friend is having difficulty grasping the situation, perhaps a drawing would help. Excluding the shop's entrance from the street, there is only one other door, that of the storeroom. Of course, there was only a little oil lamp burning, not much to see by. And the door was hidden behind a curtain and all. That is right. Give me a second. When we arrived, the door was mostly obscured by this curtain. I'm gonna like try muting my mic whenever I drink water or something. Tell me, why exactly did you try to open that door? Any normal petty thief would run at the sound of a gunshot, I should think. Oh, well, you turned to rabbit, Ringo. Well, Nash, yeah. I suppose you'd have to say we ain't normal, eh? Broadly speaking, humans respond in one of two ways on hearing a gunshot or scream. The timid flee, gripped by fear, while the courageous investigate to see if they might help. Oops. The gentleman are of the latter inclination. My learned Nipponese friend, it would seem, is of the former. Alright, somehow, I just proved that I was a coward that night. Thank you, counsels. So, I believe we all understand that the door was locked and could not be opened. Proceed, witnesses. Okay. Last statement to press. You didn't do or take anything? Is that your story? Well, it was Bedlam soon, as weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out me Lucy lockets. God. So with no time to take your hands out of your pockets, you just left nice and quietly, you say? That is right, Governor. Nothing we ate more than violence. Peace-loving nibblers we are, not bludgers. Okay, then explain why Sholmes was shot. We are, Nash, we are. Never even pulled me dukes out me Lucy lockets. So, you'd clearly like us to believe. Come again? As you fled from the pawnbrokers that night, did you not run into anyone else? And did you not fire a gun at that person? Saints alive, they fired a gun, you say? Ah! Blimey, Governor! You ain't telling us it was you in the doorway. It was. Why the bleeding Nora? Didn't you mention that before? You were armed with a gun, and as you fled the scene, you fired that gun at London's greatest detective, Sherlock Sholmes. They shot the great Mr. Sholmes? I did hear that, actually. There was a rumor he'd been rushed to the hospital. The great Sholmes? That is beyond the pale. On the night in question, this pair were arrested by the police within minutes of the discovery of the crime scene. Their suspicious countenance rapidly gave them away. I mean, it's probably the fact that they look like they're either wearing masks or they look like they are wearing masks. And when searched, a firearm was indeed found in their possession. Furthermore, the barrel shows signs of a shot having been fired from it. The prosecution invites his lordship to examine the firearm recovered from these brothers. Yes, indeed. Remnants of powder around the muzzle, as you say, counsel. The court will hold this weapon as evidence. Definitely not peace-loving. Now, my learned Nipponese friend. Yes? Here's to you successfully presenting the evidence. For yes, there are telltale signs of spent powder on this gun and a single bullet missing from the cylinder, but the prosecution demands evidence that it was fired at the scene of the crime under scrutiny in this trial. Well, I don't need evidence, because I was there. However, the rest of us in this courtroom were not. There was 3 people there. I mean, actually, yeah, 2 of them, one's leaving England and the other is currently in the hospital. If the defense fails to provide evidence in support of its rash claim, we shall have no choice but to toast your incompetence and move on. I mean, they literally said that they were in the doorway. Evidence that these 2 fired that gun before they left Windybanks that night. The court demands that all claims are affirmed with clear proof. What evidence shows that these witnesses unloaded a firearm in the pawnbrokers that night? My guess would probably be the blood samples portfolio. Because there's a green colored blood at the calendar. Take that! The evidence is in this portfolio. What on earth have you there, counsel? During the course of our investigations, we discovered a number of bloodstains. Not trusting the police to do the job they are trained to do. How arrogantly Nipponese of you. Well, anyway, we analyzed all the blood samples we found and recorded the results in this portfolio. And you claim to have evidence the court is demanding therein. Yes, my lord. No more dallying then, counsel. Present the pertinent evidence at once. What do you have in your portfolio that proves these witnesses unloaded a firearm at the scene? Take that! There's blood on the calendar. What is that? Explain! It is a photographic print taken at Windybanks pawnbrokery on the day of the incident. From the scene of the crime, is it? Is that a bullet hole? And if my eyes do not deceive me, it appears the bullet is still lodged there. Yes, as your lordship noticed, the bullet pierced Mr. Windybank's calendar. The date shown being the 16th of April, the very day of the pawnbroker's death. The incident occurred at 1 hour after midnight, but this indicates that a separate shot had been fired sometime after the calendar had been set to the 16th. That is right. And while it isn't irrefutable, the defense believes this is credible evidence that the witnesses did fire a round from their gun in the pawnbrokers that night. I'm not good at the screams. I don't know if I should actually scream to them or what. Order! How does the prosecution stand, Lord Van Zieks? If that is the direction my learned friend wishes to take, the prosecution has no objections. What? God. How many glasses have you broke here? But you'll forgive me for flinging my hollow chalice aside in disgust that the repugnancy it exposes. Yes, on the night in question, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery illegally, and, like the bold baddies they claimed to be, opened fire on the new arrivals before fleeing back onto the street. Eh? Take it easy there, Governor. You're gonna land us in the soup. We had a deal. You weren't going to get into them details. Tell him, Sulky. Set the bloke straight. I have nothing to add. So he knew, did he? Amjiks knew their testimony would almost certainly expose the extent of their crimes. It would seem now that I owe my learned Nipponese friend a word of gratitude. What do you mean? What I mean is that you have helpfully confirmed an important fact. To what fact do you refer, Lord Von Zeeks? Probably that the robbers didn't shoot Windybank. As has been established at the point of their arrest, a single shot had been fired from the brother's gun. However, if that shot found its target in Mr. Sholmes, then clearly these witnesses cannot be accused of the fatal shooting of the proprietor and victim. In other words, these two men have no material connection to the murder of Mr. Windybank at all. So that is it. Missed a lot of that. That is it. We didn't have anything to do with it. We didn't have nothing to do with it. We didn't, Nash. We didn't. That is what I reckon. Your crimes include unlawful entry, intent to steal, perjury, and let us not forget attempted murder. Quite a catalog, eh, fellas? We're in for it now, bruv. Now then, let us take a moment to consider the aforementioned great detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. It would seem the man patronized the pawnbrokers in question somewhat regularly. Where is he going with this? Mr. Sholmes appeared to take pleasure in tinkering with eccentric machinery. Eccentric? Says who? Not me. Don't give me that look. He installed a pair of machines like this one in the victim's shop. Oh! That is one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. What is that, Counsel? It has the appearance of a photographic contraption. As your lordship has surmised, it is indeed a camera attached to a small timing device. Every half an hour, it automatically photographs the interior of the establishment, the idea being that if a thief were to break into the shop, he would be caught red-handed. The prosecution has obtained the photographs taken by the device on the night in question. As the court will observe, copious identical prints are produced in a quite desultory fashion. Rather prodigal, I feel. In fact, there are 2 such devices in the victim's shop, my lord. If I may refer the court to the plan of the premises, the respective positions are here and here. You say these cameras produce a print every half hour. I'm afraid I fail to see how that would help if the anticipated thief conducted his activities in one of the many 30-minute intervals. One can only pray that the would-be criminal lingers, my lord. On the night in question, the witnesses currently in the stand were not caught on the camera. Heh, that's a bit of friar tuck, eh, bruv? Lady Luck loves a skulkin'. Witnesses, at what time did your trespassing begin? Must have been just after 1, right, bruv? Must have been, Nash, must have been. Yeah, just gone 1. In which case, minutes before these brothers entered the establishment, what scene might we expect to see within the shop? Let us examine the evidence. Good lord! It is the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. As the court can clearly see, the accused is pictured, a gun in hand, facing the victim over the shop counter, no doubt coercing the proprietor to open the door to his storeroom. Quite! One can only easily imagine the events that unfolded. The court will take this photographic print as evidence, if you please, counsel. Okay, enter the courtroom. I don't believe it. Ginny. In short, the accused is the only person who could possibly have killed Mr. Windybank. I say, my lord. Who's speaking? This guy. Wonder if I might put in a word at this point. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Took a bally bullet to the knee in the Battle of Maywand, 1880, don't you know? Decorated for it and all that, but forced to retire from service, sadly. Of course, a medal can never outshine the exploits of chaps like us on the battlefield. Yes, Mr. Foreman, and what exactly is your point? Carried on the battlefield after retirement, you see, the battle of daily life, if you like. And here I am now, leading this small squadron, 6 men, all good and true. And we'll all go down together, if you mark my words, one for all and all for one. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have reached agreement, have they? Is that what we are to understand? Well, Mr. Foreman, is that correct? In a manner of speaking, yes. That is the geared up squadron's position, sir. What? No! It's too soon to make a judgment here. Status report for the court, man. On the double. His lordship insists on promptitude at all times, and that goes for making decisions, too. I think you'll find the truth is as clear as day now. I could reach out and touch it. I wouldn't have left it in there. I just wouldn't. But in all honesty, I can't actually remember. Situation clear, stop. No room for doubt, stop. Truth now undeniable, stop. I am very sorry for brothers. They are unlucky. Should I try to give that guy a Russian accent? That'd be funny. Very well. I now call upon each member of the jury to state his or her leaning in this matter. Announce your considered verdicts to the court.
Guilty.
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 Guilty. Guilty.
Guilty.
Guilty.
Yay, we gotta do this thing again. It does indeed appear that the jury is unanimous in its leaning already. That photograph. It must be the definitive evidence that Gregson mentioned. But Ginny didn't shoot him. No, of course not. My lord, the defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination. Very well. The court grants permission. You do this all the freaking time. So, you refuse to admit defeat again. How unsurprising. We shall proceed immediately with the summation examination. Mr. Foreman, are all members of the jury ready? Abso-bally-lutely, sir. Always ready for action, my chaps. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will explain on what grounds you have determined the defendant to be guilty. All the evidence clearly points the finger of guilt at this young pickpocketeen. As a housemaid, I should like to see all filthy eyesores promptly and rigorously eliminated. I think you'll find that if you look at that photograph in stereo, the truth will just pop out. If I have left it in there, I should think there will be repercussions by now. Mind made up, stop. Global radio transmission of verdict to follow, stop. In Motherland, we say, never judge by clothes, judge by head. I am convinced the brothers are innocent. The circumstances of the crime and the evidence do indeed implicate the defendant rather comprehensively. The storeroom, locked from the inside, in which the victim and the accused were discovered alone. And in the accused's hand, the fatal revolver, the firing of which was heard by the witnesses. Not to mention this print. Taken from a chap who's seen action on the battlefield. That young girl's on the verge of pulling the bally trigger. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sholmes. Oh dear, Hurley's cameras were supposed to help, not hinder. I'm afraid I think you have an uphill struggle ahead of you. But Gina didn't shoot Mr. Windybank. Which means there is more to this situation than we've yet to see. Agreed. You have the floor, Counsel. Proceed with the summation examination. I don't know why Lord Von Zeeks is so pissed with us wanting to do this all the time. It's literally in the rules that we're allowed to do this. All the evidence clearly points to okay. I want to talk to the old man again. Like, press him about it. What exactly have you been muttering about all this time, sir? You keep talking about having left something somewhere, or something like that. Ah, so sorry. As you can probably tell, I'm a surgeon. A surgeon? That has totally passed me by. Of course, people conducting surgery in this country aren't considered to be doctors. Oh no. Even though me and my kind are at the forefront of medical science, the real brains in the field. So, what is it that you think you've left behind? Oh well, that is a little embarrassing to be honest. You see, I was operating on someone yesterday, standard thing, went in through the abdomen. But when I'd finished the procedure, I couldn't find my scalpel anywhere. What? Did he surely not? Exactly, surely not, you say to yourself, don't you? Worrying, isn't it? That's what's been troubling me this whole time. Could I really have left my scalpel inside the fellow's belly? No, of course I couldn't. So, there you have it. Like you said, a little embarrassing, really. That is one way of putting it. The other is manslaughter. That is exactly my concern, and seeing as this case appears to be all but sewn up, I need to focus on trying to remember exactly what I've sewn up elsewhere. Now, I'm sure I made sure everything was back as it should be. Well, as sure as you can be without being sure. I'm sure you don't need to be more sure. Let's press you. Sorry, radio transmission? What do you mean? Are you from the Far East? Stop. Yes. From the Empire of Japan. All communication with Far Eastern nations used to take place by mail. Royal Mail steamers take more than a month to complete the journey. Ah, but now we have the electric telegram, so we can send messages using electrical signals. Thousands of miles by cables have been laid along the ocean beds, connecting the entire world. Thousands of miles of cable on the ocean bed? Makes my head hurt just thinking about it. You are well informed, young lady. Hehe. But cables will soon become a thing of the past. Stop. And just when I was starting to catch up. Radio transmission is the future. Stop. Messages carried over airwaves to 4 corners of the globe. Stop. There isn't any corners of a globe. That's kind of the whole point. Excitement growing. Stop. Atmosphere electric. Stop. Alright. Try not to wear out your fingers. Era of wireless telegraphy. Stop. Driving technological revolution. Stop. And people say inventions like the stereoscope are the height of technology. What utter piffle. I can't understand it. I really can't. They're just silly toys. Oh. Let's pursue this. Juror number 3. Sorry to interrupt when you're obviously fuming, but... What? Do you perhaps have something to say about juror number 5's last remark? As if I couldn't guess. Oh, you bet I do. Say that again. Go on. I dare you. Goodness, are you talking to me? I think he just might be. Yes. You think stereoscopes are just a toy, or just toys, do you? Huh? Absolutely. I mean, really. A machine to view photographs in 3 dimensions? Why on earth would you not just use your eyes to look at the world around you? It's all 3-dimensional. What a great way to appease the man. No, I'm sorry. Stereoscopes are of no practical use at all. You just don't know. Pardon? I think you'll find that viewing a photograph through a stereoscope can unlock all sorts of possibilities. I'm obviously going to have to demonstrate. What sort of possibilities? Well, take a crime scene for example. If you had a pair of photographs from a crime scene that you could view through a stereoscope, it could reveal hidden clues you'd never noticed even before. What? Have you got any, Runo? Any prints we could look at with stereoscope? Yeah. How about this print here? You should do the trick, I think. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I actually have prints. Because I've only got two pictures. And I don't think any of it is useful. We're gonna have to present this one. Alright then, juror number 3. Are you saying you can do this with any two suitable photographic prints? Of course I can. Very well then, I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Just give me one more print and I'll amaze you all. I don't have a second print! What am I doing? I need another print. I'm giving you the same print, because I don't have anything. Wait, sorry? What do you mean, one more print? Oh dear, oh dear. Don't you have these in the Far East? Don't you know how the stereoscope works? Runo, what? You need 2 photographs for a stereoscope, remember? Yeah, and I don't have either. I don't want to go through this again. You know, one for the left eye and one for the right? Oh yes, I remember now. But the print we have from the pawnbrokery is just a normal photograph. No. I think you'll find that the clue is in the name. It's a stereoscope and not a monoscope. You always need 2 prints. Thanks for the friendly explanation. Well, if we obtain another photograph print at some point later in the trial, we can always show it to this young man then. Ha! I think you'll find that know-it-all expression is really starting to annoy me. Let's get things back on track, shall we, Counsel?
Hold it!
Polishing the bench, I see. Again. A maid's work is never done. Not a blemish must remain. What exactly do you mean by filthy eyesores? On my way to market for his lordship, I have to pass through the East End. The place is full of beggars, prick purses, and crossmen, the scum of the earth. A little harsh, perhaps. Let me be plain. If it were up to me, all those back slums would be made spick and span or eradicated. At least we have people like the great detective working to achieve these important goals. You're referring to Mr. Sherlock Holmes? That is right. I like to keep abreast of his exploits by reading Rant's magazine in between my duties. He does wonders cleaning up London's streets. In my opinion, he should be declared an honorary maid of the capital. Mr. Sholmes? Maid? It is really quite unforgivable. Gutter scum having the audacity to shoot our very great detective. Minor detail, it was the 2 brothers in the stand who shot Mr. Sholmes, not the defendant. A minor detail indeed. They are all gutter scum as far as I'm concerned. Well, it just might be an idea to get our facts straight anyway. Yes, alright. I shall amend my statement.
Objection!
Nah. These 2 statements clearly contradict each other. Good lord, counsel, explain yourself. Oh my statement? Contradictory? Juror number 6, you've got the wrong end of the stick. I do not have stick. I have mouse. As juror number 2 said earlier, when the Skulkin brothers fled the scene on the night in question, they fired a shot from their revolver. Yes, they shot poor Mr. Sholmes in the abdomen, I understand. Surely, you're not going to tell the court now that you didn't hear. Abdomen. Sir? Sorry. My English is still learning. You are telling the court you didn't hear. Forgive me, I did not hear. Ugh. Ah, here's the word. Abdomen. Part of person's body containing stomach and other vital organs. If this is what you mean, you should say in plain English. I am Russian, not native speaker. Who thought it was a good idea to let this man be on the jury again today? Well, I wouldn't expect that many people to actually be streaming The Great Ace Attorney, to be honest. Considering that there are other games. I just thought it would be a fun game to stream because, well, nope, I haven't really seen any videos on it. Well, I guess it is kind of reassuring to know that I'm not the only one streaming it. So, you are telling me these brothers who look like criminals were lying? They said before, we never done nothing. But truth is, they shot detective. Duh. This is double negative. Yes, that is exactly right. Lying is wrong, especially when lie is said by person who looks like criminal. Coming from you, that seems surprisingly prejudiced. This means, when they said we never took nothing, maybe it was also a big fat lie. Is this true? Well, according to the police report, no stolen goods were found, so... Enough! I trust no one now! It's, not the mouse's fault, though, sir. I must see with own eyes. I must investigate crime scene myself. The way he speaks with his W's and V's is weird. Yes, it is, Bruno. Is easily. Sorry? With the prints from Hurley's red-handed recorder. Ah. If you compare the print that pictures Guinea and the next print from half an hour later, you'll be able to see straight away if anything was taken or not. Cooey, Mr. Prosecutor. I figured it's supposed to mimic a Russian accent, but I don't think I can do a Russian accent. Tut. Calling on the prosecution in the middle of a Smithson examination at all times. The print showing the accused threatening the victim after she broke into the shop. Is this one? Why did I phrase that like a question? Following this, the victim and the accused moved into the storeroom. Meanwhile, the Skulkin brothers entered the shop and summarily heard the fatal gunshot ring out. Sadly, none of these events were captured on film. This is the print produced by the camera half an hour later, after the brothers' flight. I mean, the lamp is clearly different. So this was taken after Hurley was shot then. As far as I can tell, nothing has been taken. It does seem to be the case. I can't notice anything that's obviously missing in the second print. So, the brothers who look like criminals told only one lie. They shot man, but they stole nothing. Wait, there's 7? Dang. It would seem so, yes. Good. No, not good. You were right. I did not understood situation. Now I know brothers have lied. I think it is very important to continue with trial. God. It feels like you have... There's a certain voice that seems like it would be good with that, with saying it like that. That isn't a Russian accent, but I'd rather not. Yay, well done, Runo. The balance is shifting. Well, it is a start, I suppose. But there must be more in what these jurors are saying that I can expose the truth. And if I can do that, we just might turn the situation to our favor still. Thank you, counsel. Continue with the summation examination. And kindly hand that new photographic print to the bailiff to be filed as evidence. The post-shooting photograph has been entered into court record. Another print in the court record. I wonder if we can make use of that. Okay. Let's talk to this guy. And press him. Can it really show up new clues, though? Don't know unless you try. How about this print here? Okay.
Take that!
Alright then, juror number 3. Are you saying you can do this with 2 suitable prints? Of course I can. Very well then, I'd like you to demonstrate. I'd be delighted to. Just one more print.
Take that!
Alright, these 2 prints were both taken with the same camera in Windy Banks on the night in question. Yes, I see. Tell me, Mr. Lawyer, do you know how stereographic images work? Do you understand the principle? Please, do not give me a lecture about this. I do not want another lecture about stereographic images. Well, I think so. I did have a lesson only yesterday. The left and right eye images need to be the same, only with a slight shift in the positions of some objects. Is that the right definition? Could you define autism in this case then? Cause are you sure you don't mean fascination? Because I'm pretty sure fascination and autism are very different things. Then, when your brain merges the 2 images together inside your head, it notices a shift as if it were depth. Yes, exactly. It is that small shift between certain objects in the 2 pictures that is really important. So, what happens if you use 2 photographs that are exactly the same then? No, obviously that wouldn't work at all. Not for seeing the scene 3-dimensionally anyway. Oh, of course, now I see. Ah, I think the young girl has discovered the secret. I have. She looks so stupid. Can you uncross your eyes before you tell me that? Have another look at these 2 pictures from Hurley's camera, Renault. Go on. Okay, I see it now. So I'd probably still just use the term fascination instead of autism, mostly because I don't know if the word you're describing is related to the autism disorder, or if they're the same. If they're the same thing or not. Can you see that there is a really obvious difference between them? Of course there is. There are 2 people in the first and no people in the second. Well, yes, you can see that straight away. But now, try looking at the pictures in 3 dimensions. Alright. I'll give it a go. So, to start with, you have to cross your eyes, and then try to make the 2 pictures overlap exactly. Okay. Yeah, I've got nothing against anyone, so yeah. I mean, juror number 3 definitely does have an incredible fascination with stereoscopes. Let us see if by crossing my eyes I can make the quill pens from each picture overlap in the middle. Wait. Well, did you manage to see it properly, Bruno? Yes, I saw it. I saw it before you even crossed the pictures. What is going on with these 2 pictures? Wait. Some of the things on the counter sort of jump out at you. What? Yes! That is it. You see. That is the other amazing power of stereoscopes. Other amazing power? Is someone going to explain this black magic, eh? Why the deuce do some of the things on the counter seem to jump out at you like that, I think you'll find that if you consider the basic principle of the stereoscope, you'll answer your own question. Basic principles of the stereoscope. As I said before, If you try to look at two identical pictures using a stereoscope, it won't work at all. It is the slight shift in the position of certain objects that lets you see pictures three-dimensionally. In other words, even though at first glance it seems the objects on the counter haven't moved at all between the pictures, the lamp has been broken. This shows that actually there must have been a slight shift in their positions. Yes, there must have been. Now hold fire there, sir. Got a reasonable grasp of this whole case, this whole cross-eyed business now, I'd say. But why the devil does this shift between the two prints exist in the first place? Well, what is the answer, fellow? Come on, you're the cross-eyed master. Probably has something to do with an optic nerve, I'd say. What, me? I haven't the first idea. You know, Bruno, it is quite simple. It is? Just think it through step by step. The first photograph was taken at 1 a.m. Not 10 a.m. Then, 30 minutes later, the second photograph was taken. But the position of some items on the counter appears to have shifted slightly in the interim. So that means that sometime in the half-hour interval, someone must have tampered with things on the counter. Zookers! Someone tampered! New information. Stop. Not mentioned in testimony so far. Stop. Yes. We've had to go around in circles a little here, it seems. But I'm starting to see what I should be aiming at in this summation examination now. Are we just not going to talk about the lamp being broken at all? Ladies and gentlemen, the question now is clear. We know the items on the countertop were moved, but by whom? Are you suggesting you might know? Of course. I can tell you right now who is responsible for the almost imperceptible shift in the items on the counter. It's,
Take that!
we'll just go with the brothers, I guess. It was the witnesses currently in the stand. The Skulkin brothers. Wait. This does not agree with what brothers said in testimony before. They said they did not even have time to pull dukes from Lucy Lockets. My first book says dukes is meaning hands, and Lucy Lockets is meaning pockets. But is this another lie? Is this what you are saying? Yes, I'm afraid so. Now hold on there a minute. You can't be sure of that. I quite agree. The accused is a common pick purse after all. It is perfectly possible that she went through the things on the desk to see what she might steal. I think that is unlikely. And why exactly? As you can see from this photographic print, the defendant was pointing a gun at the victim. It would seem, as my learned friend indicated, that she was coercing Mr. Windybank to open the storeroom door. In other words, Miss Lestrade's interest lay within the storeroom, not in the main shop, giving her no reason to touch anything on the counter. All of which points to one thing. The Skulkin brothers have omitted key facts in their testimony. But the accused is a pick purse, common gutter trash. Why look any further for the wrongdoer here? Because the Skulkin brothers are thieves, madam. No better, in fact worse, than a pick purse. I believe that these brothers were looking for something on the victim's counter that night. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you would condemn the defendant on the grounds that she's a pickpocket, would it not at least be right and proper to thoroughly scrutinize the testimony given against her by two thieves? Well said. I, for one, would like to hear more from that shady pair. Why does he use his head instead of, like, slamming down his fist? Can you all see now? I think you'll find stereoscopes aren't playthings. You've seen their extraordinary potential firsthand. Wholeheartedly agree. Stop. Must purchase after trial. Stop. Will return home via Regent Street. Stop. Well, it would seem this trial has yet to run its course. The ladies and gentlemen of the jury have declared their inclinations via the mighty scales of justice. I hereby call this summation examination to conclusion with the balance altered in the defendant's favor. 2 lean to guilty, 4 lean to not guilty. Accordingly, the jury is without consensus. And I order this trial to continue. Yay! Well done. Oh, by the way, what? You should hold on to this, Reno. You never know when it might come in useful. Twice in one trial might be unusual, surely, but alright. Stereoscope has been entered into court record. Lord Von Zeeks, you will instruct the witnesses that the court demands additional testimony from them. I'm sure it won't spoil the bouquet to do so, my lord. I've won myself another chance to probe that pair about their activities that night, at least. And I won't stop probing them until I've proven that Gina is innocent. And this right here is where we'll take a short break before continuing on to the second part, because I would like to do a couple things, maybe get some more water, maybe a snack, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Would like to actually get a transition for the thing, but yeah, let's get back into the trial part 2. Order, please! Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination. Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Core blimey! This is going to be a hard work. Where's my chair doing this? Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windybanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out my Lucy Lockets. My brain just refuses to say that correctly. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Core blimey. On the night in question, you rifled through the items on the victim's counter. We've never done nothing of the sort. How'd you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened on the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And that, gentlemen, may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see, made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy, didn't Av give me a fright. We was thinking the shooter come out the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered, straight into him in the back. It's probably, I think Benedict's real last name is probably a pun or something. Because there is a lot of characters that have puns for names. At least I think. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense's accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windybank's countertop on the night in question. I'm just throwing this out there, even though it's not like a pun name like I was thinking. Is it? I'm guessing Graham. I think Graham. I think Ashley. I think you said Ashley Graham, maybe. Yeah, that sounds about right. You indeed ransack Mr. Windybank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor. No. That is right, Nash. That is right. It's more like we tidied it up, sir. Yeah. Ugh. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash. We don't. Can't he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? Can't just be a coincidence that these men showed up at Windybanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye. I'm sure of it. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Okay, let's press this.
Hold it!
If that is the case, then why didn't you testify to that effect in the first place? Well, you know, we ain't exactly squeaky clean, are we? We ain't, Nash, we ain't. If we admitted to something like that, people would think we was up to no good. Well said, Ringo, me old China. We don't only land ourselves in even more trouble. And in fact now, as a result of lying in your previous testimony, you've landed in even more trouble. That is exactly what you've done. Landed yourselves in even more trouble, thanks to perjury. That's rotten luck. Says the rotten apple eater. Witnesses? Explain your actions to the court. Why did you ransack the victim's counter? We never ransacked nothing. Right, Nash, right. More like we tidied the place up. Sorry.
Hold it!
So, what you're saying is... the sound of the gunshot shocked you so much, you knocked all those things out the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. This bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright. Blimey me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big bruv here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette. What knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You've really mastered working quietly then. What a racket! My granny would have been scared back into her grave at a clatter like that. So in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. And then some. I mean, it was quite a... It was quite a mouse, and then all of a sudden, bam! What do you got to say about this, Inspector Tobias? Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seemed to react just now at what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? There's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what is on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas into the yard for questioning last night, and the statement that gave them then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov, might have. Does ring a bell, now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? Well, didn't he die instantly according to the autopsy report? If I discover the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy! We'll get it right this time. That is it, yep. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak! Supplement your testimony with whatever details have miraculously returned to your questionable mind, sirs. Stumbling over words again. Right you are, Gov. Okay. Let's re-examine this one. So, in fact, you heard the voice and the gunshot almost simultaneously? We did, Gov. We did. Although, I suppose if you're being honest, we heard a kind of wavering voice before the yell and all. If you don't want to get shot, give me that gun. Bam. Kind of the thing. A career in acting tragically missed. And where were the voices coming from? Could you tell? Of course we could. From the other side of that door behind the counter it was. From the storeroom where the victim was found dead. And the voice you heard, it was that of the victim, Mr. Winniebank? On me granny's life, of course it was. On his granny's life, of course it was. So, that would mean that you both knew Mr. Winniebank and the sound of his voice. So that would mean what? What, Nash, what? Any ideas? Yes, Counsel, indeed it would. Nah. We didn't know that geezer. How am I supposed to deny it when that bloke and all the fancy clobbers giving us the evil eye? If you value your lives, you will ensure that your testimony is accurate and true. On me granny's life it is. On his granny's life it must be. It is a good job his granny is dead. To summarize then, immediately after hearing the voice of the victim, you then hear the gunshot, causing you to stumble and upset the items on the counter, scattering them over the shop floor. You make it sound like we are clumsy. Don't forget, we tidied up after like good little boys. Anyway, the way I see it. The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired it instead of yelling at the girl. Okay, let's go back.
Hold it!
Wait, you're saying that Mr. Winniebank had a gun in his hands? Oh yeah, bet that was a sight, eh? Them two waving them guns at each other must have got pretty heated. I mean, just before he shouted out, we heard the geezer say, "If you don't want to get shot." Didn't really sound like he meant it, mind. More of an empty threat, you could say. Mr. Winbank was known to keep a revolver on his shop counter at all times. People say that to protect the articles in his keeping, he'd readily put a bullet in someone's head if required. That someone being himself, of course. Good grief! Extraordinary devotion indeed, if alarmingly misguided. Well, he certainly sounded like he was ready to pull the trigger the other night. Only the person he was gonna shoot beat him to it. Cooked his goose proper. But he wished he'd squeezed the trigger instead of wasting time shouting, "Give me that gun!" It was directly after those words that you heard the gunshot. Oh, didn't mean to quit that. It was more or less at the same time, Gov. Give me that gun! Bam. They're good actors. They should have become actors instead of robbers. Kind of the thing. Yes, career in acting very tragically missed. Then, we heard the sound of someone hitting the deck. Before everything went dead quiet. After that, we done a slapdash job tidying the place up.
Hold it!
Okay. So, you didn't try to open the storeroom door then? Not on your life. It went deathly quiet after that, it did. Put the wind right up me. But anyway, the door was locked, weren't it? No way that was opening. Yes, that, of course. It was locked from the inside, or so we've been led to believe. It was, Gov. It was, from the inside. Right, so we've had no way of knowing what was going on in there, did we? Unless there was some other way to get a view of the inside of the storeroom. Like, through the keyhole or a spy hole, perhaps. Don't ring no bells. No, don't light no lights. We've had to cut and run before we noticed anything like that. We're still cutting our teeth in this game, you see. But one day, we'll really cut the mustard. What does that mean? Please, cut it out. But as we know, behind that door was the victim's lifeless body, with the accused not 2 feet away. Yes, unfortunately. Kina was there, unconscious, with the gun in her hand. To confirm, would it be correct to say that neither of you set foot inside the storeroom? That is right, Gov. That is right. Couldn't have, even if we'd wanted to. found it in Scarborough Street.
Hold it!
Okay. Yes, whereupon you fired a shot from your own gun at Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Oh, yeah, we was a bit hasty there. We was, Nash, we was. Truth be told, I was already shaking like a leaf when you lot turned up. If you're shaking like a leaf, don't put a loaded gun in your hand. Good advice, miss, good advice. Truth be told, me mind went totally blank. Before your mind goes totally blank, make sure you don't have a loaded gun in your hand. Mental note made, miss. After that, we liked it down the street, but apparently we looked dodgy to the coppers or something, so they clapped the darbies on us like winkin'. I do not understand like any of these terms they use. And after you'd been handcuffed, the police found this revolver in your possession, correct? Well, yeah. But listen, that proves it. That proves it, doesn't it? Eh?
Hold it!
And why should we believe that? Eh? What? Well, 'cause it's true, innit? The place was totally empty when we went in. At that time, the victim was already in the storeroom, having been forced to open the door by the accused who had a gun to his head. In other words, on the night in question, these two witnesses never even laid eyes on the proprietor of the pawnbrokery, Mr. Windybank. Correct? You've got it, mister. Down to a T. So, the Skulkin brothers never actually encountered Mr. Windybank. Is that really true, I wonder? That is it. That is the full extent of their testimony? What is it, Bruno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh, but I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, the feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movement of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in, and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You concluded that there's something suspicious about their testimony without knowing why. That is all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris, thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Okay. Well, I pressed every statement, so I must present something to some statement now. I'm guessing. Let's see. I haven't examined this, have I? There's a sensational story lowered down the front page as well, look. Ministry Mole. Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and its allies. Apparently, they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how would someone be doing that? That is the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Runo? No, of course not. I wonder... Perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. Yes, it could be, and it could explain why he has Grexy running from pillar to post at the moment. So it's been updated. That's cool. Pawnbroker perishes in pick-purse plunder. How awful for Ginny, I mean. But tomorrow's headline will be, Discharged Diver is Dauntless Do-Gooder, right? Yes, something like that. If possible, I'd like to go even bigger. Bigger or how? Proud Pickpocket protects plant posted trial. Proud Pickpocket protects planet post trial, perhaps. Protects planets? Oh, I can't wait for tomorrow now. It's going to be so great. Oh, that didn't show anything useful. Should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Wait. That gun. Wait a minute.
Objection.
Yeah, Windy Bank doesn't have a gun. Ginny has it. You're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That is it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash. Yes, no question. And yet, the photographic evidence from the time of the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windybank was not in possession of a firearm of any description.
Objection.
You surprise me. Does the defense really intend to highlight evidence that compromises the position of the accused even more? Furthermore, the defense has failed to establish that the photographic print presented was taken a simply short time prior to the victim's death. Your chronology is severely lacking, counsel. Yeah, that is right. Too right, Nash. Too right. The old geezer could have been able to turn the tables on the girl, eh? Hardly likely. No, I'm afraid this won't stand as conclusive evidence. Continue with the cross-examination, counsel. And heed my earlier warning, witnesses. As skulkin's never skulkin'. Holding a gun. But I don't know. Think back where we found it in Scarpard. Turned him in the black. I didn't need that. Go back. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling, "Give me that gun." Yeah, I just don't know. I'm gonna...
Hold it.
I didn't mean to press. I'm gonna try presenting the crime scene, well, like the thing I presented before. Statement 3.
Objection.
Can present this. So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windybank, was wielding a gun. Is that correct? That is it, Gov. You've got the picture. Yes, Nash, he has. No question. And yet, photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Weeniebank was not holding a firearm of any description. Eh? You what? Gordon Bennett! That ain't right.
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Weeniebank's gun was found at the scene. But then, shouldn't there have been two guns? Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that Molly Tiller used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam. Kind of the thing.
Hold it!
Say exactly where you are. Right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you've so colorfully described it in your testimony, it would have given rise to an undeniable and insignificant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness, are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let us see some evidence to support your claim. Ah, I see. The autopsy report, because he was shot in the back. This is what I should present here. I believe. Yeah, present the autopsy report. According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me that gun," followed by the gunshot, which shouldn't have happened. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that is right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. Skulkin. Yeah. But, it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. When he was shot that night, the shopkeeper had a gun in his hand. We saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windbank holding a gun? Something like that might have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question, they actually saw, with their own eyes, the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, Order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash, cut it out. If we blab now, you know what he'll do to us. He? Who are they talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Ugh. Bruv, come on. The game's up. But he'll have our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? On pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. And we gotta examine them again. Honestly, I completely doubt that it's just an unnamed third party that we don't know of yet. So it has to be someone in the court record. Probably this guy, because of how upset he was about the coat earlier in the case. But I don't know. Encounter with the victim. Alright, so he just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. "Give me that gun," he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. Thought we had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. We never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. So, you're not telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah. Sorry. Well, we found ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest, Governor, this time, Nash, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Counter with the victim. I still think they're lying about something.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and proprietor of the shop, Mr. Windybank? Who else? Sorry, I mean, that is right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gaff, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom. Yeah, that must be where he popped up from. Only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Windybank into the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. Did you see the accused at that time? What? That Maltooler. Couldn't tell ya. No way, Copper. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Windybank shouted those words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim Mr. Windybank wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had, pointed straight at me front to piece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Windybank with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then, all of a sudden, he came to us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we'd had it. I mean, for an old geezer, the bloke was strong like an ox. Okay. Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. You knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled up in some marinette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. So, in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock those things off the floor counter. Well, Big Bruv here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell you. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There's a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That is right, when the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street. They ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Windybank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot, Mr. Windybank? Nah, never. I was just, no... Looking out for me, bruv, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled, yes? And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut it himself. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Windybank ran away into the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Guinea was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that is right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Windybank's gun to threaten him and force him into the storeroom. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Windybank's hands again? I have no idea, but that is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should take a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and me bruv here. That is right, Nash. That is right. Me and me bruv here. Never had anything to do with killing him.
Hold it!
You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov, nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked it was, from the inside. We knew it was, 'cause we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So, in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. Ah. It would indeed appear so. What do you say to that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Windybank? There could have been. I'm gonna go with my gut. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. What? What's that look for? From the moment you admitted that you'd encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is, who could have shot Mr. Windybank? And it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim? And furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you right, Bruno? I am not entirely sure. But there's one thing I'm sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Should the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship? If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Were there other blood stains that I can look off of in the blood samples portfolio? No. That's where all his blood is at, though, so it has to have been the storeroom. Because he died instantly.
Take that!
The defendant believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in answer to the second question, Assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated, where was the victim at the time?
Take that!
The defense believes that the victim would have been in this position here.
Objection.
Yeah, what your answers in fact show is that your own position is absurd as those you have indicated on the plan. What are you saying? What Lord Von Zieks is saying, Counsel, is that your answers are clearly flawed. Ugh. I've got no idea. I knew it. It's twice as many chances to be wrong. Wait. So the questions are... Wait, from where did the culprit shoot the victim? Where was the victim at the time? Well, you have to at least choose a place that is outside the storeroom, don't you? Oh. I mean, if you're saying that someone shot Mr. Winniebank from inside the storeroom, they'll just say it was Ginny. So, then it has to be at the calendar. You're right. What is the best move here? Should I try again, or gather more information first? I'll give it a try. It has to have been at the calendar, then. The defense would like to point out the locations again. Well, well, you appear to be a glutton for punishment. Not really. So now, time for some clarity. Should the core in this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship? If you believe someone else could have killed the victim...
Take that!
The victim would have been at the defense believes that the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. If this doesn't work, then I'll have to actually look for more information. Where's the victim? The victim was here.
Take that! Objection!
No. I need more info. Sure that someone other than Ginny could have done it in the storeroom. Do you? Okay. Wait. Yes, that is the right way of looking at it, I suppose. Someone other than Gina in the storeroom. What is the best move here? Should I try again or gather more information? Leave it. My lord, I would like to consider the situation a little more before giving my answers again. Consider the situation as much as you like. The answers do not exist. Very well. The court will hear from the witnesses again, while you deliberate, counsel. So, that is all these brothers are willing to reveal this time, is it? They're still hiding something, don't you think? It's almost certainly because of these two, that poor Mr. Windybank, well, can't let them get away with it, Runo. I know, but I get the feeling that there's even less evidence at my disposal this time to prove that they did it. I mean, I guess, yeah, there is one other option. I could have tried. What if... I could have shot him through the door. We've come so far. Now it's time to finish them off. Well, I'll do my best. Means I have to go all the way back. Give me a second while I do that. Ah! I didn't mean to do that. I don't even remember which statement I pressed. I'm sure it was the last one, though.
Hold it!
Okay. Let's get this right this time, well, I guess.
Take that!
Culprit was here. The victim was inside the storeroom.
Take that!
Yeah, it worked. The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Winnebank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was moved after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So, you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom. Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled me gun on him, and then he legged it through that door into the back room. If Mr. Windybank ran through that door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. Ah! It was at precisely that moment, when the victim was fleeing for his life, that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was in the storeroom. Ah! I am so stupid because I didn't even point that out earlier, even though I should have noticed that. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Ah, of course! He would have been leaning forward as he was running away. So even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body on an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windybank.
Objection.
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? Ah, but... what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel, present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario you just described, the defense's assertion is that the victim was shot from outside the storeroom, in which case, who shut and locked the storeroom door from the inside?
Take that.
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time, the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. That is absurd! You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around her neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Yes, that is a tricky one, that, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course Skinny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Well, if I was Skinny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windybank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at the time, but at some point, Mr. Windybank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, eh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom, hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windybank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? Ah, I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windybank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it, in order to save her own life.
Hold it.
But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov, we ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on, we never shot no one.
Objection.
That is blatantly untrue. I know it for a fact that you would, Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There's only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Windybank's murder. God, I have such a bad scream there. Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket who shot the pawnbroker at all? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as a dense forest. That was amazing, Runo. All the members of the jury seem to be firmly on your side now. I know, first time ever, and probably the last. Well, I think you've done it. Surely they'll have to give a verdict of not... Kehehe. An admirable effort, my learned friend. What is this now? He's laughing? You find the situation amusing, Lord Zeeks? I myself find the defense's argument most persuasive. I dare say, such chicanery is the bread and butter of the street performers in your provincial eastern nation. But such blatantly malicious conjuring tricks amount to nothing more than inexcusable pedophagy here. What? The hypothesis you put forward so ostensibly credibly cannot and will not stand. Because, you see, it contains a fatal flaw. A fatal flaw? Do you mean to tell me that you are unaware of your logic's failing? I say, Lord Van Zeeks, you might be an idea to explain this bally-conjuring trick or whatever it is to the troops on the ground, The fatal flaw in my learned friend's argument is really very simple to understand. Only one shot was fired from their gun. Assuming you're not too dim-witted to count bullets. By George, count bullets! Oh dear. He noticed then. Huh? What is everyone talking about? Runescape is clearly an idiot. Even if he doesn't realize it himself. Counsel! Yes, sir. Tell the court, how many bullets were found at the scene of the crime? Two. 2 bullets. Correct. The first, that which hit the victim in the back, ending his life, and the second, that which struck the detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, on his arrival. The detective is in quotation marks. Is he not calling him a detective? Indeed. The defense presented a picture showing the damage caused by the second bullet earlier in the proceedings. The bullet which injured Mr. Sholmes appeared to have passed through his body to strike the calendar. Your lordship's understanding, then. Furthermore, we know there are 2 firearms involved in the incident. The revolver belonging to the victim, Mr. Windybank, and the Skulkin brothers' revolver. The evidence shows that a single bullet was fired from each gun. Yes, indeed it does. A single bullet from each. Now then, my learned friend. You yourself told the court only moments ago that these 2 brothers shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes right before your eyes. Yes, I did. Oh my goodness, I think you'll find that if the single bullet that was fired from the brothers' gun hit Mr. Sholmes, it means Windybank was not shot by the same gun. Stop. Only 1 bullet. Stop. Exactly. Yes, this Japanese street performer presented an ostensibly credible argument. However, it was never anything more than a diversionary trick with no hope of standing up to scrutiny. What? Order! 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 Pray forgive the discourtesy of flinging the dregs of this hollowed nectar into the public gallery. Lord Van Zeeks! But this court needs to open its eyes. The accused, Miss Gina Lestrade, is no ordinary little girl. Despite her young years, she can regrettably no longer be described as juvenile. No, the person in the dock is far from a law-abiding citizen. She has a past riddled with criminal conduct. The truth is, the accused broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question with loathsome intent. As we can see beyond doubt in this print, which depicts her threatening the victim with the murder weapon. And I have here in my possession one more piece of evidence the prosecution wishes to present. That disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilda's down to the yard. Thank you very much. No, don't! Don't give it to him! It's mine, that is! Mine! I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGilda has to be taken in as evidence now. Yes, that music box disc. McGilda's music box disc. The very day before the hateful murder of Mr. Winniebank, the accused attempted to make off with this article, which clearly doesn't belong to her, and with none of the subtlety of a pickpocket, I might add, but by brute force and brazen impudence. Good gracious! Make no mistake, any sympathy for the accused on the account of her years is misguided and dangerous. There are no depths to which this girl would not stoop if pushed, no crime she would not commit. The court forgets that fact at its peril. I see. Do you think it would be prudent to take this music box disc into evidence counsel? As a grim testament to the defense's character. Lord Van Zeeks, Inspector Gregson? What? Yes, Inspector? We had a meeting yesterday at the yard with the prosecution service and, I think it was agreed that the disc wouldn't be used as evidence. What's this all about? Why is the inspector acting strangely? That is the first time he said anything to Van Zeeks at all. I'm unaware of any such meeting. But those were the instructions right from the top. The government bigwigs were insistent. Inspector, I am the prosecutor, and I alone determine how to present my case. Your warning is noted. Thank you. The prosecution wishes to proceed with submitting this disc as evidence, my lord. Indeed, a bailiff. The music box disc has been entered into the court record. The prosecution has established the accused's motive, opportunity, and baseness of character. There is nothing more to add. And another summation examination, I'm guessing. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I await your informed decisions and rest my case. I don't believe it. I had the jury on my side for once, for all of 5 minutes. Oh dear, it wasn't even for 5 minutes right now. My lord! Wonder if I might say something at this point. Proceed, Mr. Foreman. Been stumbling about in a bit of fog up until now, if truth be told, but all of a sudden, the answer's bally obvious to me and my men. There's only one thing for it. Oh no. Very well, the court will hear from the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you present your leanings as to the defendant's culpability. Guilty.
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 We have a consensus among the jury, it seems. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. That is my line. I wrote that for Hurley. Arg, how dare you use it against us? Don't worry, Iris. I don't think you are finished yet. There's still more to this case than we realize. There must be, because there's one thing that I'm absolutely certain of. Gina didn't shoot Mr. Winniebank. That is beyond any doubt. Very well. We will proceed with the second summation examination of the day. Mr. Foreman, are you and the other jurors ready? Gyardep's squadron is primed and ready for action, sir. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will each explain on what grounds you have now determined the defendant to be guilty. The juror's contentions. Once a rogue, always a rogue, I say. Different breed to us law-abiding citizens. As only 2 bullets were found at the scene, I would say that the whole case is done and dusted. You don't need a stereoscope to see the truth here. Every which way you look, it was that pickpocket. I never imagined that simple operation would cause me such grief. The accused attempted a theft on the previous day. I can see it. I'm in for a busy day ahead. I am ballistics expert. I have seen many shootings. There is nothing I do not know about guns. It would seem there is little remaining room for doubt. Have to admit, I was rather bowled over by the argument put forward by the chap in black. But when that fell apart like a house of cards, I saw that I'd jolly well been hoodwinked. Well, no more! Ugh, the whole courtroom is turning against me. It's not fair. Iris? That prosecutor's being mean. Just 'cause Ginny's done something she shouldn't have done in the past, that doesn't make her a murderer. Allow me to savor this fruity vintage while I savor the spectacle of your fruitless debate on the matter. Here's to the truth coming out, eventually. That is enough preamble. Counsel, proceed with the summation examination. Yay, we gotta do this again. Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal. Once a rogue, always a rogue. Oh, time to press this old guy again because he's saying stuff that doesn't matter to the case. Probably. Would you please stop muttering about things that have nothing to do with this trial, sir? The defendant's life is on the line here. Well, the thing is, I could really say that it has nothing to do with this trial, to be honest. Huh? I mean, there's no question that the man was shot, but the bullet had simply vanished from his stomach. It is quite inexplicable, don't you think? I almost don't want to ask, but this surgery you've been muttering about all this time, you were operating on... What was the fella's name now? Herlick? No. Herlock? No. Hairlock. Herlock Sholmes, by any chance. Yes, good lord! It was that Hairlock fellow. What? You are the surgeon that operated on Mr. Sholmes? That is right. Using the very latest anesthesia techniques, I might add. It was a fairly major op, I can tell you. This is crazy. Let me see. The fellow was brought in not long after midnight, if I remember correctly. They said he'd been shot by some criminal or other, so I opened him up like a shot. But the funny thing is, I went over his insides with a fine-tooth comb and couldn't find the bullet anywhere. So I'm afraid I had to throw up my hands and just stitch the fella back up. I hate to state the obvious, but... Surely that is because the bullet is still at the scene of the shooting. The counsel for the defense is correct. It is clearly shown in this photographic print. The bullet that the Skulkin brothers fired at Mr. Sholmes hit him in the stomach region. Then exited his body, lodged into the shop wall where the calendar was hanging by the door. I think you'll find it's really quite simple if you just consider the problem three-dimensionally. Ha! Who do you think I am, son? Well, juror number 4 is about the best I can do. As soon as I saw the wound to the man's stomach, I flipped him over. Like a pancake? I just imagine them flipping Mr. Sholmes like a pancake. Are you saying that you checked his back? Of course I did. And there wasn't a trace of injury. No sign that the bullet had left the body at all. What? That is the point. The only logical conclusion was that the bullet was still somewhere in the man's innards. Which is exactly why I set about slicing him up. And I'm still none the wiser even now. How many times do I have to say it? Can somebody please explain how it happened? Can someone please solve the mystery? It is almost as much of a mystery as how this jury was put together. Let's check the court record. Oh yeah. Let's... Oh, Bruno, look! This is blood! Yes, you are right. Just a smear, but definitely blood. Actually, I feel as though I might have noticed that before. Haha! Then it's my time to shine again! Thought I'd be waiting forever. Alright, hold still with that disc, Bruno. Can we get this done quickly, Iris? In a flash. It's green. Ooh, a lovely bright shade again. Wait, that color... What is it? It's just that... green. It's not the first time we've seen that color, is it? The blood sample portfolio has been updated in the court record. Has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. Sometimes I can't tell if I actually have been saying things or just reading them in my head. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back. We have to turn this trial around again. So I am not used to talking a lot. Still. Okay, we'll just go press everything. Just because Miss Lestrade has a history of pickpocketing, she must be guilty of murder is what you're saying. Well... Are you all members of the British Army so quick to judge? I beg your pardon? Are you mocking Her Majesty's Armed Forces, the greatest military organization in the world? No, I'm simply illustrating my point. Making assumptions about people because they are a soldier or a pickpocket is wrong and dangerous. Well, yes. Might have a point there, I suppose. But let's not forget the girl had already shown she had it in her from before. She's clearly a criminal sort through and through. Can't deny it. When you say she'd shown she had it in her, are you referring to this? Exactly. Tried to swipe that only a day earlier, Or am I mistaken? Not exactly. Given that I was actually there at the time, it's hard to refute that. Oh my gosh. I've never actually seen the real thing. I can't wait to have a closer look at it. Oh yes, of course. Mr. Sholmes did use his caramel bars to make a copy of the disc, didn't he? And then he ordered every type of music box he could find from across Europe. We still don't know what tune it plays, though, do we? But I'd love to see how the original compares to Hurley's copy. Miss McGilded's disc. Could it be a clue somehow? Perhaps we should examine it in more detail. It is the number of bullets that has you convinced. Only the bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many we are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count. I didn't mean to do that. To count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes, sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose. I don't think you missed much. When was the last time you were in chat? I guess, because when was the last time you were in the thing? Because I don't remember. If there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A 3rd bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? That's impossible. I'm gonna leave that for a bit. The 2 bullets were discovered by the police during their investigation. Yes, I know. Yeah, you missed, them basically lying about that, and us saying that Windibank was shot from outside the storeroom, which I think was said to be false. I can't remember, because I've got very short memory. I forget stuff easily. Oh yeah, we got a hold of the music disc, which helped us show that Benedict, at least, was there at the scene of the crime because his blood matched with that of the music disc. Right. And I don't imagine the good men of Scotland Yard would have overlooked anything. If I missed a bullet while I was cleaning his lordship's office as well, I should receive a sound scolding, I don't doubt. And he should receive a visit from the police, perhaps. It sounds like a crime scene to me. A third bullet. It would completely turn things around if there was one, wouldn't it? Do you think we might find one lying around somewhere? So, I've understood correctly. You need two pictures, a left eye one and a slightly different right eye one. Exactly. Then you can see the scene in 3 dimensions, like this. So, if we have 2 bullets, I don't suppose you can see anything useful with them. I think you'll find that no matter how much you squint, the truth of the situation always looks the same here. The only person who could have shot the victim is that girl in the dock. How can you be so sure of that? Think about it. The Skulkin brothers shot the great detective, didn't they? Yes, that's been mentioned once or twice. Well then, surely it's coming into focus now, isn't it? This is a waste of time. I'm not going to change this man's mind anytime soon. Press you. What do you mean, you're in for a busy day? Forgot to say, stop. Do excuse me, stop. Didn't. I am a communications officer, stop. A communications officer? Does that have something to do with sending telegrams? Everything from personal messages written by members of the public to the latest news in the capital. I convert all the messages into Morse code and tap it out to the entire world electronically. To the entire world? Thousands of miles of cable under the sea. Stop. Worldwide Communications Network. Stop. Information transmitted to and from all corners of the globe. Stop. Ah, yes. She was getting equally worked up about radio waves or the like before, wasn't she? I specialize in communicating information from the government departments and newspaper offices. I see. I'm sure I shall have to wire the newspaper reports of today's guilty verdict later. So no sleep for me tonight, I imagine. Let us just finish the trial first, shall we? You are ballistics expert. Or press you. I thought you were just a tourist. Good day. I am visiting London for sightseeing. I would like to take bus to the Crystal Tower, please. There's no way he's just a visiting tourist. So, you're a ballistics expert. Who knew? I have much experience with guns. Ah. I have lived through many, how do you say, extreme, violent bath of, blood of, extremely violent blood baths, perhaps. Da! Those! Extremely violent blood baths. English is very difficult tongue. Considering the sort of people you associate with, I'm surprised you still have a tongue. Anyway, if you have questions about bullets and guns, you ask me. There's nothing I do not know, no mystery I cannot solve. He's very confident in his knowledge of guns, that is for sure. But, if possible, please, only in Russian language. He's not very confident in his knowledge of English, though, is he? No, we should bear it in mind. He's our man if there's a mystery about guns or bullets. Henzik has managed to convince everyone. When you have eliminated the impossible, he said, but he hasn't. If we're going to fight back, we need more material. And we have to fight back! We have to turn this trial around again. Once a rogue, always a rogue. Okay. No, I didn't mean to press you. Mr. Sholm's surgeon is on the jury. I've experienced some coincidences recently, but this is ridiculous. I'm as surprised as anyone. There's no question that Mr. Sholmes was shot. Well, that is what the police told me when they brought him in. How bad were his injuries, Doctor? He was in a bad way. He'd lost a huge amount of blood, you know. And I suspect he was shot at quite close range, too. Because his skin was badly burnt around the point of entry. Burnt? As I said, I flipped the fellow over and examined his back, but there was no sign of an exit wound. Which is why I thought I'd better locate the lug and pop it out. In it, you say you found no bullet inside the patient. What if they fired a blank, then? Well, I wouldn't have done, would I? Because it's in the wall of the pawnbrokers. But how did it get there? I need someone to solve this mystery before it drives me to insanity. If only there was some expert in ballistics. So we have a disappearing bullet on our hands. No, we don't. Well, yeah, we do, I guess. Pitts, you against 6.
Objection.
These two statements clearly contradict the idea that all I do is pit jurors against each other. Oh, a ballistics expert? Pitting? On the night in question, Mr. Sholmes was shot by one of the Skulkin brothers. But since there was no sign of an exit wound on his back, we must assume the bullet didn't pass through him. However, no bullet was found lodged in Mr. Sholmes' body either. Furthermore, a bullet was found lodged in the wall of the shop where Mr. Sholmes was shot. Juror number 6. Hello, my name is Villain. Pleased to meet you. This apparent contradiction in the facts that is so clearly troubling juror number 4. Are you able to explain the mystery? I have seen very similar situation in Motherland. It was night. There was blizzard. I was running away along mountain road in freezing cold. Golly. The snow was piling high on both sides of the road. It was very narrow and dangerous. My pursuers had hunting rifles and they were on dog sleds. Mental note, don't ask too many questions. I was shot from behind and I fell down in the snow. And this situation was very similar to what I hear today from Doctor. They could not find bullet in my body. And no sign of, how do you say, exit wound? Then where did the bullet go? Bullet never hit me. Well, if it never hit you, why did you fall down? Bullet hit frozen wall of ice very close to my side. What? One small piece, very sharp, broke away from lump of ice and pierced my body. It made deep wound that looks just like bullet wound. Good gracious. Of course, the piece of ice quickly melted inside me. And that is solution to mystery of disappearing bullet. Does that mean that... Well, there was no ice near Sholmes, so it had to be some kind of glass, right? But that doesn't answer the question at all. The shooting happened in a pawnbroker shop, not some snowy mountain road in another country. Just an idea, but we might not be looking at exactly the same scenario here. Runo, where exactly was Hurley shot again? Well, according to the report, in his stomach. Sort of around this area, I think. Well, that's precisely where he always wears a little pouch on his belt. A pouch? Actually, I might have noticed something like that. Yes, a pouch. It is where he keeps 3 glass vials of very dangerous chemicals that he uses in his investigations. What? Really? Doctor, where's the pouch Mr. Sholmes was wearing? Well, the fellow had nothing like that on his person when he arrived at the hospital as far as I remember. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks? Well, I realize it is forbidden for the prosecution to interject during a summation examination. I should inform the defense that I have the pouch in question in the antechamber outside the courtroom. Sorry? As I understand it, when the police arrived on the scene and found Mr. Sholmes injured, they removed the pouch in order to assess the wound. Ah, thank goodness. I thought I was getting forgetful for a moment. Since then, it has been in my safekeeping along with all other evidence relating to the case. I can personally vouch for the fact that it has not been touched since the incident occurred. Very well. While extremely unconventional during a summation examination, I must demand the prosecution presents the item in question with all speed. Bring forth Mr. Herlock Sholmes' pouch. I see. One of the vials is broken and there's blood on it. So this is the pouch worn by Mr. Sholmes on the night in question, is it? Look at that! One of the vials is broken and the leather around it is scorched black. It's almost as if the vial exploded. Exploded? So, that night, the bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun struck Mr. Sholmes' pouch, and it was the glass vial exploding that caused the fellow's injury. This bullet did not penetrate victim, but was deflected into wall of shop. I don't think so. That would have been very odd. A delightfully complex aroma. Well, it would appear one mystery has been solved at least. Though, it was no bearing on the truth of this case. The bungling and burgling brothers shot the detective and the accused shot the pawnbroker. The pertinent facts of the case remain unaltered. But at least the mystery is solved. I can sleep easy tonight. I hadn't meant to click on him. Thank you, young man. Da, thank you very much. Glad I could help. Due to its bearing on the conundrum just solved, the court will sequester the scruffy pouch as evidence. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say Benedict is a really normal-looking person, I guess, to me, at least. He's just more he looks kind of like Strongheart a little bit, except if you dumped a bucket of white paint all over him and colored his hair blonde. They've got this, like, the same facial expression. Due to its bearing on the conundrum, the Hurley's pouch isn't scruffy. Sholmes' pouch has been entered into the court record. Examination. It would appear the defense is somewhat struggling to alter opinion, Please, my lord. A little more time. After all, that is a new piece of evidence. Well, yeah, I haven't really seen much. The only times I've actually seen him were his, was earlier in the case. It could be a valuable clue, and you can't afford to overlook anything here, Runesuke. There's still a way to turn this around somehow. I'm sure of it. Let's look at the court record. Examine this. Wait a minute. There's a bullet there. It's really scorched badly just here. Oh, the strap is broken. Look. This must be where the bullet hit then. Let me see. There's the bullet. What? What the? Iris, look! Behind where the broken vial is. Do you see it? Ah, that's it. The Skulkin brothers' bullet. What a stroke of luck that it hit his pouch. This is an amazing discovery. What this means is there were 3 bullets fired at Windybanks that night. We found exactly what the juror was talking about. The 3rd bullet. It's time to press that juror again, I think. That was the 2nd juror? Yeah. The maid. It's the number of bullets that has you convinced. Once the bullet fired, only 2 bullets fired. I can prove it. I can prove there's a 3rd bullet because I have it right here. Now allow me to show you then the 3rd bullet.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Windybank's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired. What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to the hospital. I'm guessing since the vial exploded, it probably, at least burnt an area around him, and some and I don't know. Oh. Yeah, I don't really know. This pouch was removed around Mr. Schoen's waist before he was taken to the hospital, and since then it hasn't been touched by no one. Do you mean to say that the shot fired by the Skulkin brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. We already know the whereabouts of the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It is clearly visible in the photographic print. Ah! The 2 guns fired from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Windybank and that belonging to the Skulkin brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. Ah! But that must mean... That is right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. It probably might have looked like a bullet wound because it was a bad he was keeping dangerous chemicals on him. So that could have caused it. Order! 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 While the summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant is built. As it is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. God, she looks so short right there. It actually looks kind of funny. Like that. Witnesses? Governor! Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was. Perhaps we can dispense with the tedious preamble, simply answer this one question. Yeah, Iris does need like 3 boxes. How come one of the Skulker brothers gets a box, but Iris didn't? The 3rd bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I didn't make nothing of it. I can't help it. Is it one of yours? Blummy, Gov, Gry Blummy, not a chance. In that case, did you have an accomplice? What, What? Never. The Skulkin brothers work alone. It's just the 2 of us. That's our trademark. How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that is an head scratcher. Counsel for the defense. Yes? I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came. Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. I wouldn't say they had another gun. Probably it didn't have anything. Yeah, they had another accomplice. It did have something to do with them, I guess. On that night at Windybank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a 3rd man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice, but the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present, someone carrying a gun. Yeah, he gets a box, but Iris didn't. They're almost the same height, I guess. I wouldn't say that Gregson looks like a thumb, according to your chat message there, but I don't know. An accomplice, you say? Pigswill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations, yet in all that time, there has not been a murmur of a 3rd man. If this apparently wraith-like being exists... The court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy will be crushed. I mean, yeah, I guess he is slightly thumb-shaped. Look at him again. Yeah, he does kind of look like a thumb. I do think he is real, though. Maybe. He might be real. Ah! The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence, that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of the spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they are hiding? Well, counsel? I'm supposed to prove the existence of the accomplice and reveal the person's identity, even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, the defense is ready to present answers. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Japanese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. This promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference. In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the months leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a third intruder present at the scene? I guess I have to present the blood analysis. Wait, didn't we see...
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio. By Jove, that portfolio again, isn't it? Is it? Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of the third intruder. Well, which one is it? That one.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar. That is a bloodstain, my lord. A bloodstain? Green blood? Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? It is something developed by Mr. Sherlock Holmes. By the great detective? New invention! Stop! Not yet appeared in the story. Stop! It is this, you see. It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color. Different elements? Of people's blood? Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it is made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Oh, that brings a whole extra dimension to looking at blood. Talk of blood in the courtroom. Stop. Very exciting. Stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windybank. Ah, a striking blue. Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop. Now hold fire there, young man. Could be from some unrelated incident, couldn't it? No, it is not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windybank was killed. By golly! Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day. Then whose blood is it? Well, the Skulkin brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder? Mr. Eggs Benedict.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict. Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, counsel? He paid a visit to Windybank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place. And when the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing the article into her possession... That is right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force. Broker? Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie! What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs, too. He does have dramatic poses, I guess. Inspector Gregson was there any at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc. Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That is more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windybank for a print showing the fellow. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gibbonesses. Yes, that is him talking to Mr. Windybank that morning. And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice. Well, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin? Never seen the geezer before in my life. On me life, Gov. On me life, never seen him. Well, somehow, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice. Yes, and I can. Then, show us the evidence. I agree. We must see the proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom. Are you ready to present your answer to the court then, counsel? Nah, I'm not. Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photograph print was, in fact, the person struck by the third bullet. Present this. That proof is right here, in this portfolio. Good gracious, counsel! Does that portfolio contain the answers to every question posed? I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend, but... Enough! The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime? This one. As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully, admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windybanks, which is when the aforementioned Edgar Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possession, no? That is correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred. But of course, sir. Here's the disc for you. Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. Ah, what do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions caused Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed, and the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now. Goodness, a bloodstain, is it? My assistant and I have just analyzed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom, using my trusty fogger gun. Yes, and we've added the results to this portfolio. I say, it is green. It is exactly the same color as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Edgar Benedict, who was in Windybanks earlier in the day, is the same accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else there. Look at those two brothers now. They're sweating buckets. Oi! Who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Edgar Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify. It It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection.
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes, a god of detection or some such. Iris did not like that. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land? Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain you turned a shade of green, what of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn to the same color. Well... And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. He probably came up with it on the spot. I don't know, I mean, he's the great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I mean, he probably came up with it on the spot. He probably had, like, since Eggs Benedict is like an actual food item, he probably had that for breakfast or something and just threw that name together. That's probably why he chose the name. I knew it would come to this. Of course, Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice do I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. Father Christmas? About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. Ah! In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it? Good grief! What did you say, young girl? In a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she is right. Young lady, you have quite the devious mind. It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. I wonder if we ever appear with Mr. Sholmes in court, or if we get more Iris in court. Because it's very interesting. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter. After that shrewd process of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion. This is absurd! Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings on this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Guilty.
Not guilty.
He still hits him his head. Dude, just put your hands down. 2 call guilty and 4 call not guilty. Such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection.
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision. Well, it's not the prosecution's it's not the prosecution's right to do that, I don't think. On what grounds? If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt. I am sorry, Lord Van Zieks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. The trial will continue. Dude, just calm down. You're so much worse than Edgeworth was about it a bit. Nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very recently requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible. What? The name that gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false. I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Could I say something? Who was that, please? Who spoke? It was me, my lord. Juror number 5? What have you to say, madam? If possible, Inspector. Me, ma'am? I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown. Ah, right. Yes. This one you mean, of Mr. Benedict? Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say. You know this man? God, what is with these juries? Everything is just a huge coincidence. Yes, I know him. What? No. Good gracious! Order! 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 Juror number 5, how on earth? I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is... Stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. God, her eyes are lighting up. A very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communications station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he is a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that is it. I suppose that is why I felt something was wrong. If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zeeks, if you please. Yes, my lord. Make the necessary arrangements with all haste, as your lordship bids. The court will recess for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson? Yes, my lord? I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Damn. That is just a huge coincidence that your coworker is a suspect for a murder case that you are the jury for. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. Court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m. Sorry, Izzy, but unfortunately for you, this is to be continued, and I'll have to continue this trial tomorrow. So, you won't be able to see Benedict till then. But it'll be 5 p.m. CDT tomorrow, which would be August 1st. Hope y'all catch it then.